She had always been invisible. Just another uniform, another mop, another shadow moving through a mansion too big to ever notice her. For 8 months, Emily Parker cleaned the same polished floors, emptied the same trash bins, and answered to the same silence. No one asked her name. No one cared who she was. Until one Tuesday morning when a phone rang. It wasn't her job to answer it, but it rang and rang, echoing off the walls like something urgent, like destiny itself refusing to be ignored. So she picked up. And then, something happened. The man on the other end spoke Arabic. And Emily, quiet, unseen, underestimated Emily, responded fluently. Not just with basic words, but with elegance, confidence, mastery. The kind of Arabic reserved for diplomats and CEOs. She didn't know it yet, but someone had walked in and was standing right behind her, listening. A man who thought he owned the room. A man who had no idea the most powerful person in the house wasn't him. By the next morning, everything would change. For her. For him. For the $50 million deal hanging in the balance. Comment where in the world you're watching from. And subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you absolutely don't want to miss. Emily Parker moved like a ghost through the mansion. Her sneakers barely made a sound on the marble floors. The house, like every Tuesday, was silent. Mr. Dylan Smith, the millionaire tech investor who owned the place, was supposed to be out on a business trip. That meant Emily could hum quietly to herself, take her time with the mahogany table in the office and pretend, just for a moment, that this wasn't just another day cleaning a home that wasn't hers. She wiped the last fingerprint from the desk, then straightened up with a sigh. That's when the landline rang. The sharp tone cut through the quiet. 1 ring. 2. 3. Emily froze. The phone kept going, echoing like it didn't care that no one was supposed to be home. She looked toward the door. Empty. Still silence. 15 rings. She couldn't take it anymore. Sliding off her gloves, Emily picked up the phone. Smith residence, good morning, she said, trying her best to sound polished, professional, like she belonged. Pause. Then a man's voice replied in Arabic. Emily's heart skipped a beat. It had been years since she'd spoken Arabic out loud. She'd studied it obsessively in college, even spent a semester in Morocco. But that life felt 100 years away. Without thinking, she answered. Fluently. Smoothly. With the kind of precision that came from love, not just study. Mr. Dillon is not available at the moment. May I assist you? There was a pause on the other end. You speak Arabic perfectly, the man said, surprised. My name is Ahmed Al-Rashid. I have a proposal for Mr. Dillon. It's urgent. A $50 million opportunity. Emily's eyes widened. She jotted down his name and number, her hands slightly trembling as she tried not to sound too shocked. Understood, Mr. Ahmed. I'll ensure Mr. Dillon receives your message immediately. She chatted briefly about the weather in Dubai, her words coming easily, naturally. Years of academic immersion kicked in, as if they had been waiting for this moment. What Emily didn't know was that Dillon had come home early. He stood silently in the hallway just outside the office door, his eyes wide, his posture frozen. His cleaner, the woman he'd never looked at twice, was speaking Arabic better than he ever could. Not just speaking it, mastering it. He watched the way she moved. Confident. Focused. Her simple uniform did nothing to hide her poise, her grace, her intelligence. She was stunning in a way he'd never allowed himself to notice. And she had just salvaged the deal of a lifetime. When she hung up and turned around, she nearly screamed. Oh, Mr. Dillon, I didn't hear you, she stammered, nearly dropping the phone. Her face flushed with panic. I'm so sorry. I only answered because. You speak Arabic? He interrupted, his voice calm but loaded with disbelief. She nodded, eyes lowered. Just the basics, she lied. Dillon laughed under his breath. That was not basic. Emily tried to explain. The phone kept ringing and I thought, if it was important. And it was, Dillon said, stepping further into the room. Very important. His eyes flicked to the notepad on the desk. Did he say his name was Ahmed Al-Rashid? Emily nodded again. From Dubai. Yes, sir. He mentioned a business proposal. $50 million. He asked for a return call today. Dillon's mind raced. That name. That project. He had been trying to reach Al-Rashid for weeks, with no success. And here Emily had just picked up the phone and opened the door he couldn't get near. 8 months, he muttered almost to himself. You've worked here 8 months. And you never mentioned you spoke Arabic. I didn't think it mattered, she said quietly. I'm just the cleaning lady. Dylan stared at her. That phrase, just the cleaning lady, suddenly felt absurd. He crossed his arms, a thoughtful expression settling on his face. Emily, tell me exactly what he said. Word for word. She swallowed hard, but her memory was sharp. She repeated the entire conversation, from the investor's tone to the cultural idioms he used. Dylan listened, fascinated. This wasn't a woman with just the basics. This was someone who understood nuance, tone, subtext, things that even native speakers struggled with. And for 8 months he barely looked at her. But now, standing in front of him, humble and brilliant all at once, she had his full attention. And he had no idea what to do with it. Dylan sat down in his leather executive chair, the same one where he'd closed multimillion-dollar deals and negotiated with some of the world's toughest investors. But now, for the first time in a long while, he felt unsure. Emily stood near the door, still holding the notepad like it was a shield. Have a seat, he said, gesturing to the guest chair across from him. She hesitated, then slowly walked over and sat down, her posture careful, eyes still downcast. Dylan leaned forward. Emily, how did you learn Arabic? She took a breath, her voice soft. I studied linguistics at the University of Miami, with a concentration in Middle Eastern languages. That stunned him. Linguistics? So you have a degree? She nodded. Graduated top of my class. Spoke 5 languages fluently by the time I finished. Dylan blinked. Then why? I mean, how did you end up here? Emily's fingers tightened around the notepad. Because nobody would hire me. Not for what I studied. Not for what I know. I went to dozens of interviews. Everyone loved my resume, until they met me. What do you mean? She lifted her eyes just for a second. I'm a Latino woman with an accent they don't expect, a face that doesn't fit the global image of corporate America. They want international experience, but not if it looks like me. Dylan felt the air shift. It was more than guilt. It was recognition. Recognition of a blind spot so wide he hadn't even known it was there. He exhaled. How many languages do you speak, really? 6 fluently, she said. English, Spanish, Arabic, French, Portuguese, and a working knowledge of Mandarin. Dylan's jaw clenched slightly. He had paid consultants thousands for half that range. And for 8 months, you've been cleaning my house. Emily offered a small, apologetic smile. I needed work. And I wasn't going to sit around waiting for the world to catch up. He stood suddenly, walked to the large glass windows that overlooked the bay. The silence stretched. Then he turned around. I need you to come with me tomorrow. Emily looked up. To do what? To help me close that deal. Her eyes widened. But I'm not qualified. I mean, Emily, you're more qualified than anyone I've hired in months. You understood everything. You remembered every word. You navigated a high-level business call without missing a beat. I don't have the clothes for a meeting like that, she said automatically, still resisting what was happening. I'll handle that, Dylan replied without hesitation. Just say yes. Emily stared at him. Her mind raced. It didn't feel real. She had answered a phone. That was all. And now this. I'll do it, she whispered. Dylan smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him. Not professional. Not polite. Real. Great, he said. And Emily? Yes. Don't ever say you're just the cleaning lady again. She nodded, her throat tight. He looked at the clock. I need to call Ahmed back. Stay here if you don't mind. She sat still as Dylan picked up the phone and dialed the number she'd written down. The line clicked. Mr. Ahmed, Dylan said, shifting into formal Arabic. This is Dylan Smith. I received your message. Ahmed's voice was warm. Mr. Dylan, it's good to hear from you. And allow me to say, your assistant is extraordinary. Dylan shot a glance at Emily, who looked like she wanted to disappear. Yes, he replied. She is. Very much so. Ahmed chuckled. It's rare to find someone with that level of fluency and cultural sensitivity. She must have studied in the region? Dylan hesitated. She's part of my international team. Well, I insist she be present at tomorrow's meeting. We'll be discussing sensitive matters. Language and cultural understanding will be vital. Of course, Dylan replied. We'll be there. What time? 3 p.m. My office in downtown Miami. I'll be bringing my team from Dubai, along with a few investors. Understood. Looking forward to it. When he hung up, Dylan turned to Emily. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap. He wants you at the meeting, Dylan said softly. Her eyes widened. Me? I thought I was just helping you prepare. No, he said. You're helping me win. And you've already impressed him. Emily let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Dylan moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. She looked up. You said you've been overlooked your whole life. Tomorrow that ends. Emily nodded slowly. But deep down, she wondered if she was walking into something far bigger than a business meeting. Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling of her small apartment, her heart pounding against her ribs like a clock gone wild. Everything had changed in a matter of hours. She had gone from cleaning a desk to preparing to sit at a $1 million conference table. And it terrified her. The next morning she woke up 2 hours earlier than usual. She tried on every piece of clothing she owned, twice. Nothing felt right. Nothing looked like it belonged in a boardroom with Dubai investors. Finally, she settled on the only semi-formal dress she owned, a plain black sheath she had once bought on clearance for job interviews that never led anywhere. At 11 a.m. her phone buzzed. Dylan, I'm sending a driver to pick you up. We're going shopping before the meeting. Emily, but I don't have money for that. Dylan, it's on me. I need you to feel confident today. Be ready in an hour. Exactly 40 minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up in front of her modest building. The driver, dressed in a crisp black suit, stepped out and opened the door for her like she was royalty. Emily slid in, still gripping her small purse like a life preserver. Dylan was waiting for her outside a luxury boutique downtown, casual in designer jeans and a white linen shirt, but somehow still exuding power. When he saw her, he smiled. Good morning, he said. Did you sleep well? Emily shook her head. Not really. He laughed. Me neither. Inside the boutique, everything sparkled. The walls gleamed with mirrors. The clothes on the mannequins cost more than her monthly rent. The sales associate gave Emily a once-over that said she didn't belong. What are you looking for today? She asked Dylan, not bothering to address Emily. He glanced at Emily and said clearly, something that makes her feel powerful. Emily blinked. The sales associate hesitated, then adjusted her tone. Right this way. For the next hour, Dylan walked beside her as she tried on outfits. Blazers, pantsuits, silk blouses. He offered calm feedback, never pushing, just guiding. This one brings out your eyes, he said about a deep blue jacket. You think it's not too much? You're walking into a room negotiating $50 million. It's not too much. You're the most valuable person in that meeting. Eventually, Emily settled on a tailored navy blue suit with a structured blazer and crisp white blouse. It fit like armor. When she stepped out of the dressing room, Dylan gave a low whistle. Perfect, he said. You look like someone they'll never forget. At the register, Emily tried to protest. Dylan, this is too much. Stop worrying about money, he said. This is an investment. He handed over his card. While they waited, he glanced at her again, less like a boss, more like someone seeing her as a person for the first time. Can I ask you something? He said. Emily nodded. Do you have family here in Miami? My mom. She lives in Hialeah. My dad passed away when I was 12. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Emily smiled softly. He's the one who made me fall in love with languages. He used to say every language was a key to a new world. That's beautiful. He promised that when I turned 13, he'd take me to Paris. He died 3 months before the trip. Dylan went quiet. So you kept the promise on your own? She nodded. Every time I learn a new language, it feels like I'm traveling with him. There was a long pause between them. It wasn't awkward. It was something else. Respect. Understanding. A bridge. In the car on the way to Dylan's office, Emily stared out the window, her mind racing. I'm nervous, she admitted. So am I, Dylan said. She turned to him. Really? This is the biggest deal I've ever tried to close. If it falls apart, it's on me. Or me, she said. No. You're the reason it might actually happen. You're my secret weapon. Emily smiled faintly. And what if I mess it up? You won't, he said. You've already done more for me in the past 24 hours than any of the consultants I've paid this year. Trust yourself. At the office, Dylan led her into a conference room and closed the door. Let's rehearse a bit, he said. Go over some terms that might come up. Emily nodded and launched into Arabic, describing investment frameworks, partnership clauses, construction lingo, and cultural adaptations. Dylan took notes, watching her with increasing awe. You remember all this? I studied a lot. And when you love something, it sticks. You love languages that much? I love what they represent. Every language has a personality, a culture, a way of seeing the world. Dylan paused, his pen hovering. Have you ever thought about teaching? I've tried. No one gives me a real chance. Well, he said, looking at her, I'm giving you one. Emily stared at him. Why? Dylan hesitated. Because for 8 months I didn't see you. I treated you like background. But now, I realize I've been ignoring one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. She didn't know what to say. But she didn't have to. Because in that moment, as their eyes locked across the table, something shifted. Ahmed al-Rashid's office soared above the city like a monument to power. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around the space, offering a panoramic view of downtown Miami's coastline. The walls were lined with modern art and subtle gold accents. Everything whispered, deals are made here, big ones. Emily stepped off the elevator with Dylan at precisely 2:55 p.m. She wore the navy blue suit they had picked together, hair pulled into a low, sleek bun, and her nerves carefully tucked behind a calm expression. Inside, however, her stomach was a knot of fear and anticipation. A sharply dressed receptionist greeted them. Mr. Al-Rashid will see you shortly. Please this way. As they entered the meeting room, Emily spotted the long glass conference table, already set with water, notepads, and luxurious pens. 3 men in tailored suits stood at the far end, talking softly in Arabic. When the door opened again, a tall man with silver at his temples and confidence in his step walked in. Ahmed al-Rashid. His presence shifted the energy in the room instantly. Mr. Smith, Ahmed said in perfect English, extending a warm hand. It's good to see you in person. Dylan returned the handshake firmly. Mr. al-Rashid, thank you for this opportunity. And you must be Emily, Ahmed continued in Arabic, turning to her with a smile. The woman who saved our communication. Emily responded fluently, her tone warm yet respectful. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Ahmed. Thank you for trusting me to be part of this discussion. Ahmed's smile widened. Your accent is excellent. Where did you study? Emily didn't hesitate. University of Miami. With a semester abroad in Marrakesh. Marrakesh? He chuckled. One of my favorite cities. That explains the precision in your expressions. As Ahmed and Emily conversed effortlessly, Dylan stepped back slightly and observed. Emily's eyes lit up as she spoke, switching seamlessly between cultural references and business terminology. Her body language matched the nuances of Arab conversation. Subtle nods, controlled gestures, respectful eye contact. She wasn't just translating. She was belonging. Let's begin, Ahmed said, gesturing toward the table. They sat. For the next hour, Ahmed and his partners presented their vision for a chain of luxury hotels starting in Dubai and expanding into key U.S. cities. Dylan chimed in with financial models, projections, and investor relationships. But it was Emily who brought it all together. She translated complex business terms in real time, clarified intentions when things became ambiguous, and asked sharp, culturally relevant questions that impressed even Ahmed's senior advisors. At one point, an Emirati investor raised concerns about preserving Arab hospitality traditions in an American context. Emily leaned forward and calmly explained strategies used by other global brands to maintain authenticity while respecting local customs. You've clearly done your research, the man said. I've lived it, she replied. And I believe true hospitality is about understanding what people value, wherever they are. More nods. More approval. 2 hours in, Ahmed leaned back, steepled his fingers and said, Mr. Smith, I'm prepared to move forward with a preliminary agreement. But I have one specific condition. Dylan straightened. Of course. I want Emily to be our cultural consultant during the entire planning phase, Ahmed said. Which means she'll need to travel to Dubai next month to work with our core team, and then lead the adaptation of our concept for the U.S. market. Emily nearly choked on her water. Dylan blinked. That's a significant role. Ahmed smiled. And she is a significant asset. Her understanding of our values, combined with her insight into American culture, makes her irreplaceable for this project. Emily's heart thudded in her chest. She looked at Dylan, then at Ahmed. May I ask about the terms of this role? Of course, Ahmed said. It's a 6-month contract with a high-level consultant's salary, full accommodations, travel expenses covered, and the potential to extend long-term. 6 months. In Dubai. A dream opportunity. A career-defining role. I need time to think, she said carefully. Ahmed nodded. Naturally. Let's take a short break. As soon as the door closed behind the investors, Emily turned to Dylan. I can't do this, she whispered. What do you mean? I still work for you. As your cleaner. I can't just walk out and become a cultural consultant for a global expansion. It doesn't make sense. Dylan looked at her for a long moment, then said, There's something you need to know. Emily held her breath. I came home early yesterday because I'd made a decision. I was going to give the entire staff 2 weeks off. I'd planned to upgrade the cleaning service, maybe bring in a tech-based solution. Her eyes widened. You were going to let me go? He nodded slowly. But then I heard you on that phone call. And I realized, the universe had other plans. Emily looked down, torn between disbelief and something else, hope. This opportunity, Dylan said, stepping closer, it's not betrayal. It's justice. You've been invisible to people like me for far too long. Let this be the moment that ends. She looked up, eyes glassy. And what about you? The deal? I'll manage, he said. With or without you at the table. But I'd rather have you sitting next to me, if that's what you want. Emily barely heard the rest of the meeting. Her mind was spinning, her thoughts caught somewhere between disbelief and wonder. For years she'd fought for an opportunity, any opportunity. And now, a life-changing offer had just landed in her lap, not because someone gave her charity, but because she proved her worth in less than 5 minutes. After the break they returned to the table. Ahmed smiled warmly. So, Miss Parker, have you had time to think? Emily took a breath. Mr. Ahmed, I'm honored by your offer. I'd like a few days to consider all the variables. It's not just a job change. It's a life change. Ahmed's expression didn't falter. Wise. Take the time you need. As the meeting concluded, preliminary contracts were exchanged. Ahmed's final handshake with Emily lingered a little longer than expected. Dubai is lucky if you say yes. Once back in the car, silence fell between her and Dylan. Finally she asked, You really think I can do this? Dylan didn't hesitate. You already did. That wasn't a job interview, Emily. That was a real-time test, and you passed it with elegance and precision. She looked out the window as Miami blurred past. The skyline, once familiar and distant, now felt like something she was leaving behind, or rising above. Back at Dylan's mansion they walked in together for the first time, not as boss and employee but as something harder to define. I'll make you coffee, Dylan offered. Emily gave a soft laugh. You're making coffee for me now? He shrugged. I owe you more than that. As he worked the espresso machine she took a seat at the kitchen island, somewhere she'd only ever cleaned before. Now she sat like she belonged. Dylan placed the mug in front of her, then sat across from her, suddenly serious. Tell me the truth, he said. If you weren't cleaning houses, what would your dream have been? Emily stirred her coffee slowly. To work in cultural diplomacy. Embassies. International firms. I wanted to bridge worlds. Be the person who helps two cultures understand each other, build things together. You still want that? I never stopped wanting it, she whispered. Dylan nodded. Then we find a way to make it happen. But this isn't just a career thing, Dylan. It's everything. My life would be split between 2 cities. Maybe more. I'd be traveling. Working insane hours. I'd barely be in one place. He met her gaze. Then we figure it out together. If this is your next chapter, I want to help write it. Emily's throat tightened. Why do you care so much? Dylan hesitated. Because I know what it's like to be underestimated. When I started my company, nobody believed in me. I spent years trying to prove I deserved a seat at the table. He paused. But no one ever gave me the chance you just gave me today. Emily looked puzzled. I helped you. He nodded. Ahmed had stopped returning my calls. He'd already rejected 3 of my proposals. You didn't just open a door, you changed the room. Emily was silent. And then she asked the question that had been growing inside her since the night before. Dylan, if I take this opportunity, would it change things between us? He looked at her for a long time. It already has. She felt her heart skip. Is that good or bad? Dylan gave a small smile. It's real. The next morning her phone buzzed at 9 a.m. Dylan, car's downstairs. We've got an appointment. Emily, for what? Dylan, you'll see. Trust me. Curious, she got dressed and found the same luxury car waiting. The driver smiled and handed her an envelope. Inside was a note. Power isn't just in how you speak, it's in how you show up. Time to complete the armor. D. They arrived at an upscale salon in Brickell, where a stylist met her at the door. You must be Emily. We've been briefed. For the next 2 hours she was transformed. Subtle makeup. Clean, professional styling. Her natural curls were defined, shaped, and styled into a soft but strong silhouette. Not hiding. Not muted. Radiant. At the end, she looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. It was her. But it was a version the world had never let her be. When she stepped back into the waiting room, Dylan stood up slowly. His jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. She tilted her head. Too much. He stepped closer, still silent. Then, no. Just, perfect. He offered his arm. Shall we? Where are we going? To the place where it all began, he said. My office. We've got prep to do for your Dubai presentation. And I want you to meet someone. Who? He gave her a crooked grin. Our new chief strategist. If you say yes, I'll be restructuring the whole division around this project. I want your insights from the start. Emily blinked. You're serious? I've never been more serious. They stepped out into the Miami sun. And for the first time she wasn't walking behind him. She was walking beside him. The following days passed in a blur. Emily found herself living between 2 worlds. By day she was studying architectural renderings, international hotel concepts, and cultural case studies for the Dubai expansion. By night she returned to her small apartment, still with the worn-out kitchen tiles and the leaky faucet that no landlord seemed to fix. But something inside her had shifted. She was no longer cleaning someone else's dreams. She was building her own. Every morning Dylan sent a driver. Every evening they reviewed strategy together, sometimes at the office, sometimes over dinner at quiet restaurants with corner tables. Their conversations shifted from business to life. Dreams. Regrets. Futures. On the 3rd evening, over Thai food and jasmine tea, Emily dared to ask, Dylan, what happens if I don't come back after Dubai? He looked at her for a long second. Are you planning not to? I don't know. It's a 6-month contract and Ahmed hinted it could lead to more. If it goes well. He nodded, trying to hide the flicker of sadness. Then we figure it out. Are you sure? No, he admitted. But I'm willing. A week later they stood at Miami International Airport. Emily wore a soft gray travel blazer, her hair pulled back, her suitcase freshly packed with tailored pieces and a sleek laptop Dylan had insisted she take. As they waited at the gate, he handed her a small package. She opened it, a leather-bound notebook. On the first page he had written, For every new word you learn, every wall you break, every table you walk into like you've always belonged. This is the first chapter of your empire. Dylan. She tried to hide her tears, but he noticed. Write everything down, he said. One day someone else might need to read it. The boarding call came. Group 1. Business class. Emily took a deep breath. I guess this is it. Not it, Dylan corrected. Just for now. She stepped forward, then turned back. Dylan? Yeah. If I mess up. You won't. But if I do, then you'll get back up. And call me. And we'll fix it. She laughed, half choking on emotion. Thank you. For seeing me. I didn't see you at first, he said. But now I can't unsee you. They hugged. Not a polite one. A real one. The kind that speaks in every language without needing a word. As she disappeared down the boarding tunnel, Dylan stood still for several seconds. Long after the other passengers had gone. Long after the plane took off. The terminal emptied, but he stayed. Because something told him, this wasn't just business anymore. Dubai hit her senses like a symphony. The scent of oud in the hotel lobby. The gold shimmer of the skyline. The blend of tradition and ambition in every interaction. Ahmed had arranged for her to stay in a suite at the Burj Khalifa, with views that stretched beyond the horizon. A private driver. A team of assistants. And yet, nothing made her feel more powerful than walking into that boardroom. In her first week, Emily visited 3 hotel properties, met with architects and held cultural alignment workshops for staff. Her fluency, and more importantly her emotional intelligence, made her invaluable. By the second week, Ahmed called her into his personal office. "You've impressed everyone," he said, folding his hands. "You have a gift, Emily. One that can't be taught. You don't just understand culture. You feel it." She smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. I'm serious. When this project ends, I want to offer you something bigger. A permanent role. Head of International Cultural Development. With full authority and global reach." Emily's heart pounded. "That's a lot." "It is. But you're ready." She stared at him, her thoughts already traveling to Miami. To Dylan. To the man who first handed her a coffee in her own uniform and asked her what her real dream was. "I'd like time to think," she said. "Of course. But know this, people like you don't come around often." That night, back in her hotel suite, Emily video called Dylan. When his face popped onto the screen, she nearly burst into tears. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," he smiled. "How's Dubai?" "Big. Beautiful. A little lonely. You're killing it though?" "I hope so." They talked for almost an hour. And then she told him about Ahmed's offer. There was a pause. "A permanent role?" Dylan asked carefully. She nodded. "That's incredible. But it means not coming back." He didn't speak immediately. "Say something," she whispered. "I want you to take it," he finally said. "If it's what you want. And if I want you to?" He leaned closer to the screen. "Then we find a way to want both." Tears spilled silently down her face. "You always say the right thing." "No. I just finally know what matters." Emily sat back, breathing slowly, staring at the glittering Dubai skyline behind her. She had come here for business. But now, everything felt personal. The day of the big presentation arrived. Emily stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling window on the 67th floor of the Burj Khalifa, watching the sun rise over Dubai. The city below shimmered like a dream built on glass and sand. Her navy blue suit was tailored to perfection. The custom gold bracelet on her wrist, a gift from Ahmed's team, was engraved with a single word, Jizr. Bridge. That was what she had become. A bridge between worlds. Between traditions and innovation. Between past silence and future purpose. She arrived early at the main conference hall, where the final contract for the Dubai, Miami Hospitality Initiative would be signed. Investors from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE were already seated. The air buzzed with tension. This wasn't just a financial meeting. It was a cultural crossroads. Ahmed entered the room with an easy calm. "Gentlemen," he announced, "allow me to reintroduce Emily Parker, our cultural strategist for this project." The room stirred. Emily stepped forward and greeted each group in their own language or dialect. Her Arabic was adjusted subtly for formality with the Saudis, warmer with the Emiratis, and even blended with some French greetings for the North African investors. She didn't just speak fluently. She belonged. What followed was a masterclass in diplomacy. A conservative Saudi investor raised concerns about the architectural integrity of the Miami design. "It's too modern," he said. "It risks forgetting our values." Emily didn't flinch. She stood, pulled out a diagram, and began speaking in soft, confident Arabic. "Sheikh Abdullah," she began respectfully, "I completely understand your concern. That's why we've proposed design features that respect sacred traditions, mashrabiyas for shade and privacy, prayer spaces oriented toward Mecca, and dedicated areas for family gatherings. We've also arranged consultations with Islamic scholars to ensure compliance." The room went quiet. Then the Saudi nodded. "This honors both Allah and innovation. I'm impressed." Ahmed smiled discreetly across the table. Over the next 2 hours, Emily fielded every concern with cultural fluency and emotional grace. She bridged misunderstandings with elegance, offering not just translation but understanding. When a Qatari financier questioned the halal certification process, Emily provided a detailed breakdown, citing both local US and GCC standards. She ended her segment with a single line that silenced the room. True hospitality is not about offering what you have. It's about offering what they need. By the end of the presentation, there was no doubt. Every investor signed. The deal was closed. $50 million secured. Global expansion unlocked. As the room cleared, Ahmed approached her quietly. "You didn't just close a deal," he said in Portuguese, her native tongue. "You changed the way they see America." Emily smiled, humbled. "It was a team effort." "Perhaps," he said. "But you were the reason they said yes." Then he leaned in. "I want to triple your offer." She blinked. "Triple?" "Yes. Full-time. Executive level. Director of Global Cultural Strategy. I want you not just on this project, but leading the next phase of our international division." Emily's mind went blank. This was more than she had ever dreamed. The kind of role she never thought someone like her could even hope for. But in that moment, she hesitated. Because her heart was already somewhere else. "I need time to think," she said again. Ahmed nodded. "Of course." Later that evening in her hotel suite, she called Dylan. His voice came through immediately. "Emily?" "I did it," she said breathlessly. "We closed the deal. All of it. They signed everything." "Emily, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you." His voice cracked slightly. "And then," she added, "Ahmed offered me a permanent role. Triple the salary." There was a pause. "Wow," Dylan said. "That's huge." "I haven't said yes." He was quiet for a long moment. "Why not?" "Because I'm not sure I want it, if I have to do it alone." "Emily, I know it's a dream job. I know I worked for this. But I don't want to wake up in a different city every month and not have you in it." On the other end of the line, Dylan exhaled slowly. "Emily, I love you." She froze. "I love you," he repeated. "And when you love someone, you want them to chase the biggest dreams of their life, even if it means a long-distance relationship. Even if it means it's hard." "I'll wait. I'll visit. We'll find a way. Just promise me one thing." "Anything. Don't turn down your future for me. Because I'll be in it. No matter where you go." Her breath caught. "You always know what to say," she whispered. "No," he said. "But I always mean it." She stood by the window again, looking out over a city that had embraced her brilliance. And yet all she could see was Miami. Dylan. The beginning of something not just extraordinary, but eternal. The flight back to Miami felt like something out of a dream. Emily sat by the window, the desert giving way to clouds, then the Atlantic, then the familiar coast of Florida. Her inbox was flooded with congratulations, from Ahmed's team, from the investors, even from 2 international firms who had heard about her negotiation and were requesting meetings. But her thoughts weren't on emails. They were on Dylan. When she stepped off the plane, she expected a quiet ride home. Maybe a polite welcome back. What she didn't expect was to see Dylan standing in the arrival hall, holding a bouquet of white jasmine and damask roses. "Welcome home, Miss International," he said, his smile nervous. Emily froze for a moment, then walked straight into his arms. "You remembered the flowers from Dubai," she whispered. "I remember everything about you," he murmured. They drove back to his house, or rather their new meeting ground. It didn't feel like a boss's home anymore. It felt like neutral territory, like the beginning of something undefined but real. "I made dinner," he said casually as he unlocked the door. Inside, the table was set. Lebanese food, soft lights, Arabic music mixed with smooth American jazz. A playlist titled Emily. "I don't know what to say," she said, blinking at the warmth of it all. "Then don't say anything yet. Just eat. Rest. Be home." That night, after 2 servings of tabbouleh and 3 cups of mint tea, they sat together on the back patio. The stars above Miami were dimmer than Dubai's sky, but somehow more personal. "Dylan," she began, "I have to make a decision." "I know," he said softly. "And I want to help you make it. But only if you want me to." "I do." He turned to her, resting one arm across the back of the bench. "Then tell me, what do you want?" "I want to take the offer. But," she paused, breathing slowly, "I want a life that includes you. And I don't want to be an executive living out of a suitcase forever. Okay, he said carefully. So, what if you didn't have to be? Emily looked at him, confused. What if you kept your base in Miami and traveled strategically? He continued. Ahmed already agreed you could customize your role, right? Yes. Then negotiate. Make it yours. Build the career you want. Not the one they assume you should accept. Her eyes widened. You really think I can ask that? I think you're the one writing the rules now. She stood and paced a little, heart racing. And what about you? I'm already working on expanding internationally, he said, standing too. And I've been thinking. She turned to him. What if we built something, together? Emily tilted her head. What do you mean? I mean you're the world's best cultural strategist. And I've got the business infrastructure. What if we created a new company, one that specializes in cross-cultural expansion? Not just hotels. Anything. Tech education. Global strategy. She blinked. Like, our own firm? Yes. A slow smile formed on her lips. Smith Parker International? Or Parker Smith Global, he offered. They laughed. Then he grew serious. Emily, I'm not asking you to stay for me. I'm asking you to build something with me. If you take Ahmed's offer, amazing. But whatever you do, do it because it's yours. And if that includes me, I'll be the happiest man alive. Emily stepped close, her voice barely above a whisper. You already are. Their lips met in a kiss that wasn't rushed or uncertain, but full of quiet fire. Like two languages finally finding a perfect translation. The next morning she sat by the window with a pen in hand. The notebook Dylan had given her was open. She wrote, Today I choose. Not because I'm grateful, but because I'm ready. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Ahmed. I'm honored to accept the offer. With one request. My base must remain in Miami. Dubai can be my second home, but Miami is where my heart is. 10 minutes later, a reply. Understood. We'll build this around you. Welcome to the future. And then she texted Dylan. I said yes. To the offer. To the future. To us. I couldn't have done it without knowing you were behind me. His reply came immediately. I knew you'd make the right choice. For you. For us. Now come home. I have something else to show you. Emily closed the notebook. Her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear. But from power. The kind of power that comes when someone finally steps into the room, and everyone knows she belongs there. 3 months later, everything had changed. And yet, somehow, everything felt exactly where it belonged. Emily was no longer the woman scrubbing floors while hiding degrees behind calloused hands. She was now the director of global cultural strategy for one of the fastest-growing hospitality brands in the world. Her days were filled with high-level meetings, her voice echoed in boardrooms across continents, and for the first time, every syllable was heard. Her home base was still Miami. Dylan's house, once cavernous and cold, had transformed. His sleek, minimalist office now had a second desk, one with her name on a brass plate. Her Moroccan notebooks sat beside his MacBook. A map of the world covered the back wall, with pushpins in every city they had touched together. But it wasn't just business. It had become them. That morning, she woke up to the sound of clinking in the kitchen. Dylan was attempting breakfast, badly. I told you I'm better at coffee than cooking, he admitted, holding a lopsided omelet. I appreciate the effort, she laughed, stealing a bite and immediately reaching for water. You're brave, he grinned. As they sat at the breakfast table, sunlight spilling over the counter, Dylan grew serious. Emily, I've been thinking. Dangerous, she teased. I'm serious. She leaned in, eyebrows raised. Do you remember what you said in Dubai? That you didn't want success if it meant being alone? She nodded. Well, I've been offered a contract in Seoul. A joint project with one of Ahmed's Asian partners. But I told them I had a condition. What condition? That I wouldn't go unless we go. Her eyes widened. Together? He nodded. We take this next step as a team. You'll lead cultural planning. I'll handle business infrastructure. New continent, same mission. Emily blinked. That's huge. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A ring box. Not flashy. Simple. Elegant. Emily froze. Dylan? He knelt, but not with a speech. Just 5 words. Will you build with me? Tears slipped down her cheeks. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. He stood, slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her. And it wasn't about fairy tales. It wasn't about rescuing or being rescued. It was about recognition. Two people who had seen each other, truly, and decided to move forward together. 1 year later, Smith Parker International had offices in 3 countries and clients in 15. Their work became the case study of the decade, a company built on empathy, language, and mutual vision. But more than headlines, Emily now had something no title could replace: belonging. She gave TED Talks, wrote books, mentored women from underrepresented communities. She created pipelines for multilingual professionals who had long been ignored. And at every major event, Dylan stood beside her. No longer the boss who underestimated her, but the partner who believed in her first, and forever. On the anniversary of that fateful phone call, they held a celebration in Miami. Not a gala. Not a press event. Just a dinner. Long table. Garden lights. Laughter. Their team. Friends. Her mother. Ahmed. The investor who once questioned her now toasted to her legacy. And at the head of the table, Dylan raised his glass. To the woman who answered the phone that day. Laughter and applause. But more importantly, to the woman who taught the world to listen. Emily smiled, eyes shimmering. And for a moment she remembered. The gloves. The mop. The phone ringing. The decision to answer it. And how that simple act opened a door that no one, not even she, believed was hers to walk through. Until now. Because sometimes the most powerful moment in your life doesn't happen in a spotlight. It happens when you finally say, I belong here.